This is Barbara the Barbarian, Chapter 2, Part 5, The Ambush. The group shoved off, leaving the encampment behind. Barbara was rolling with all this because she had no idea what any of this was about anyways. They ventured into the forest at a steady pace and did very little talking. Ray and B did the most amongst themselves, and Venus spoke to Barbara from time to time. Barbara was beginning to understand a word here and there, but not enough to follow it. The smallest of the band, Lena, stopped, then the others did as well. Barbara saw in them an urgency, as if something important was happening. Lena backed behind the brush. Barbara lost track of her. The biggest woman drew her curved scimitar and crouched. She put her hand out, motioning everyone to get low. Vina and Barbara stayed close, but got low and spread out. Ray and B both crouched and slowly cocked bows. Barbara held her pole arm down in a readied position. Her heart pumped furiously. Everyone thought she was some sort of hot shit barbarian, but she knew better. Lena ran past their location, but didn't stop. Barbara's first instinct was to see what Lena was running from and stop her, but Vina grabbed her toned arm as if that was not the plan. After a few moments, 3 creatures ran their way, charging after Lena. Barbara couldn't tell what they were other than they walked on 2 legs. These things were sickly and deformed. Their noses were open like pigs, at least 2 of them were. The other didn't have a nose. Their eyes were red, their heads were misshapen and deformed. Barbara noticed that one of the 3 was wearing a jacket that put her in the mind of a flight suit a pilot would wear with an excessive amount of zippers. All of them had knives out. They were moving so fast, they ran right in the middle of them without noticing. Danica dove from a bush and with one violent swipe severed the mutant with the flight suit's leg at the knee. Bia and Rhea put an arrow in each of the other creatures, but that didn't stop their forward momentum. Barbara and Vina were the only thing that were standing between the last 2 escaping. Barbara lowered her polearm as a reactionary method. She had no interest in killing anything, but these creatures startled her enough that she instinctively braced for an attack. The creature that charged her way with an arrow in his back ran face first into Barbara's spear. The wooden tip entered through his throat and exited his neck with very little need of her strength. Gore sprayed. Vina had no visible weapons. Barbara looked to her, more scared for her than herself at this point in time. The other charging creature didn't stop. He intended to bulldoze the smaller woman and keep running. Vina held her ground. She may have been younger and smaller than everyone in the group, but she was not untrained. The little woman's hands cracked and twisted, stretching and pulling until it formed into animalistic claws. Her mouth lengthened and her teeth grew so big they barely fit in her head. Fangs and claws barreled into the creature. Barbara nearly retched when Vina pulled a long elastic patch of skin from the thing's neck with her teeth. Blood sprayed like rain. Barbara dropped her spear temporarily, ignoring the fact she had just killed some deranged teal person, and backed away from Vina. The other women showed no signs of outward distress, as if they had seen such things as this before, and spoke to one another openly. Danica casually chopped the head off of the creature whose leg she severed, then inspected the beast Barbara had killed. She looked at the outsider with an approving nod. Then to Vina, who aside from a face full of blood appeared as her old self. Barbara looked down to the recently deceased creatures, then to the others. She couldn't begin to understand exactly what happened, but Barbara was starting to realize whatever it was wasn't a passing thing. They had been living this way for quite some time. Lena returned to camp and inspected the bodies. She spoke with the others, and they seemed as if they were forming some sort of consensus on something or other. Barbara couldn't stop but to think about the thing she killed and what Vina turned into all the while. She thought more than a little on the possibility of breaking from the group and taking her chances, but in the end, they seemed to be protecting her, and she didn't particularly get a bad feeling from them, other than the occasional lesbian vibe. This was Barbara the Barbarian. Like and subscribe. Go back and listen to the other stuff if you can. And look for part 6.